Okay, so let's be clear. The President Korea has had some. I mean, officially he's backing up the project, but sometimes he said in 6 months you have to have the money. He doesn't look like the most convinced, because other people in the government, the vice president and other ministries, are convinced. President Korea doesn't look so convinced.
I think you're right, and even in the press several times, this word of an ambiguous position on the part of the president shows up in newspapers and in different kinds of reports, and I think that on several occasions some comments by the president have really undermined any confidence that it did exist in the world, especially if we remember back to the time of the meetings in Copenhagen at the end of 2009. I think many people in the world expected the agreement with the United Nations to be signed by January 2010 as opposed to August of 2010. And so when the president made some comments at that point that were quite negative about how the negotiations had gone and the job that the promotion committee for the initiative had done, then I think the world also, when he presented some doubts about their job, I think the rest of the world said, well, if the president of Ecuador can't confide in that group of individuals, then maybe the rest of the world can't either, and maybe we can't easily justify putting our money into this fund.
Yeah. So, for you, what would be necessary now to regain confidence in foreign countries? There is a crisis also. There's less money today. What should be done?
I think that's one of the complications for this whole story, is that the world is going through an economic crisis. Some people say we're starting to come out of that, and so situations should be improving, but at the same time, many people in the world are still suffering from this economic crisis. Many politicians all around the world have to recognize that situation, and they can't take bread out of the mouths of the people in their own country to send it to a place that those people don't even know about. And basically, for many people, we're talking about nowhere South America. So it's a very difficult situation. Frankly, at this point, I don't know if there is a way to recover confidence and enthusiasm for the initiative. I think it's a real shame, because I feel that it was a wonderful opportunity. I hope we haven't missed that opportunity. But at the same time, I'm confident that if this strategy doesn't work, that there will be other creative strategies. Environmentalists, conservationists of the world will come up with other ways to do something to protect this area. The world now knows that this is the most species diverse place on the planet, and that it basically has to be saved.
Just it's a solution couldn't be to do of that stuff a political problem, so that so many people from Ecuador would be in favor of that the government or any government couldn't exploit the oil?
I think the perspective of the people is extremely important in this case, and we all know that there have been several polls taken with the citizens of Ecuador, and most people say that those polls say that at least 60 or 70% of Ecuadorians want the Yasuni ITT block to stay intact. They want it to not have the oil extracted from there. I think one of the shortcomings for the promotion of the initiative was to not try to spread that same kind of interest to other parts of the world, especially to the countries that were potential and are continue to be potential contributors to this project. I think if we had convinced, for example, the people of Germany, and not just 2 or 3 politicians or leaders in Germany, that this was a good project, then we might have had greater success when it comes down to the moment of making a decision in the face of an economic crisis. If the people don't know about this place or can't or haven't been exposed to the justifications for keeping it, then they probably aren't willing to put their money into it. But if they had heard the story, if they knew how important this was for the planet, for all of humankind, for all of eternity, then I think they would be more willing to say to their governments, please support this, as opposed to saying, I don't know what you're doing with my money. So I think that's a part of this story that could have been very different.